she's going to, and this is something no one can talk about other than we'll talk about it here on this show. She's going to face a level of racism from black players, and she's going to face a level of hostility from lesbian players because she's not on team LGBTQ. She's a Catholic. She's got some boyfriend.
Obviously, generational college basketball career. How do you think her game will translate to the W?
So that's a two-part question for me. Because I say this, yes, records are made and set to be broken. But if you're going to break a record, this isn't just for Caitlin, but you asked me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player set it.
Okay.
Right? So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record? I don't know.
You think exactly how I
don't think so, but yeah, that'll go in the record books as Caitlin Clark is the all-time, whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is, but that's the way it'll be. So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them. But you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old. Like, you should be killing them.
Yeah.
Because you've been doing it a lot longer than they have.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, but I know she can come back another year.
Yeah, this is her fourth season, though, so she would be...
Oh, she'll be legit.
Caitlin Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Carry on.
I know you like that.
Hell yeah.
I said that because when she comes to the league, regardless of what team she goes to that has vets on that team, she probably ain't gonna get 40 shots a game.
Oh, y'all don't get they don't get to stand on the number one?
I said she might, but I'm
number one pick.
That's a lot of hate, a lot of bad information. Caitlin Clark played 4 seasons, or this is her 4th season, same as Kelsey Flum. Caitlin Clark has played 123 games. Kelsey Flum played 139 games. Caitlin's averaging 28.1 points per game. Kelsey Flum is averaging 25.4. Caitlin Clark takes 19.7 shots per game on average throughout her career. That's less than half, and she's 22, not 25. This is a lot of hate. They're killing the golden goose, man. This is but it's incredible. Yeah.
Outside of that, I thought Miss Swoopes nailed it. Yeah, I mean, this is what Thomas Sowell calls this the philosophy of grievance, and I will add based on ignorance. Because I was listening to all that, and I'm thinking, really, and then you just told me, not really. Jason, and I think it's Kelsey Plum, not Flum, right?
Plum,
me, big WNBA guy here, the historian. I want to correct you on that. So here's the thing.
Thank you.
As I'm listening to all that about what Miss Swoopes said about the dynamic of when she comes into the professional ranks next year, how there's going to be some conflict, that she will not be allowed to be the gunslinger. Jason, doesn't this remind you of Pistol Pete Maravich? I mean, style of play, the dominance at that level, and what I've read and what I've heard about Pistol Pete is he was such a dominant force. I mean, this guy scored 40 points a game at LSU before the shot clock in a three-point shot. That's probably scoring like 55 a game, right? Back when you could slow it down. But I've read and I've seen documentaries that when he got into the NBA, there was a lot of jealousy. Guys did not like the show. They didn't like how good he was. They tried to freeze him out. In his professional career, it was kind of, I don't want to say it was sad. It was very productive, but I don't know how happy he was because there was a lot of stuff going around that was anti-Pistol Pete. I wonder, is Caitlin Clark the female Pistol?
I love the analogy because I do think she is the female version of Pistol Pete. But I also think that, like Larry Bird, there was a reason why the Celtics had the whitest roster in the league playing alongside Larry Bird. And I'm not even saying that to be funny, because like when Bill Russell was the star of the Celtics, they had the blackest roster in the NBA at that time to fit Bill Russell's personality. But the clear fact is that she's going to, and this is something no one can talk about other than we'll talk about it here on this show. She's going to face a level of racism from black players, and she's going to face a level of hostility from lesbian players because she's not on team LGBTQ. She's a Catholic. She's got some boyfriend. She's going to walk into a extremely hostile environment. And so when it was Tiger Woods walking into a hostile environment of the PGA Tour, we talked about it, we covered it, we covered it sympathetically, we criticized the people that were against Tiger Woods. As it relates to Caitlin Clark, who could come and make the WNBA far more relevant. I'm not going to say she's going to make them relevant, but she'll make them more relevant. She's going to face a level of hostility that's unprecedented. I mean, because, again, people think men are bad. A group of women? You just sat and listened to Sheryl Swoopes just stack lie on top of misinformation. And a group of black people basically mostly just nodded their heads as if she knew what she was talking about, because Gilbert Arenas knows virtually nothing. And so I think this is why this thing is fascinating, because she's going to walk into hostile territory. And there's a reason why Iowa's roster, why she's playing at Iowa. Maybe she's from that area. I think maybe she grew up there. Yeah. But they got a predominantly white roster, because you put an Angel Reese on that team and you got headaches and problems. You're multiplying your Sheryl Swopeses of the world that are sitting there just trying to hate on them and trying to prove that, they're not as good as all the hype.
Well, and Tiger didn't have a bunch of teammates either.
Yeah.
That is a hard thing. You're going to have to go back into the locker room. But if you read those stories about, Larry Bird is in my timeline a fair bit. I get a lot of NBA stuff. And I see a lot of those, the players from that era, talking about the first time they played Larry Bird. And it was a lot of, don't you put that white boy on my team. And then an hour and a half later, they'd say, I get it. And I think that's what will happen over time with Caitlin Clark, particularly if she's bringing real relevance. Now, the difference, this is what you pointed out, and I think this is real, and it's the real difference between men and women at our core. The women will be very jealous, and that, I think, is going to be a monster problem. I hope they get over it for the winning. Guys like to win, even if they're not the star. Well, great, we'll get a championship. Well, everybody jump on Michael Jordan's back. Everybody jump on Larry Bird's back. I don't know if that'll happen with Caitlin Clark.
TJ,
Steve, you got any
story about Larry Bird?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, first practice he ever was with the Boston Celtics, Cedric Maxwell had doubts about how good Larry Bird was, and he said, "Look, let me stick him in a scrimmage." And he said within 5 minutes, he said, "This is the greatest player I've ever seen." And so Larry Bird, Larry Bird during tip-off, and they'd come down the court, and if he was guarded by a white guy, he'd tell him, "Hey, guy, you're insulting me. Get a black guy on me immediately." He used to tell that to the opposing coaches. Don't ever do that. Put a white guy on me. We're not doing this here. So he used to just kill people. Here's what's going to happen, guys, with Caitlin Clark in the WNBA, and it's going to be a simmering thing with the teammates and even with the opponents. And I think the teammates might have it worse out for her. When she gets into the NBA, games that have maybe 2,000-3,000 will suddenly have almost 10,000, at least the first time around, right? And these players in their own home arenas are going to see suddenly a big crowd for the opposing player. And get this, a lot of these people might have Caitlin Clark paraphernalia, her jersey, her shirts with the number on it. And TJ, to what you said, there's going to be this growing resentment because now people are going to write stories. Caitlin Clark, the great white hope, the savior of the WNBA. So every WNBA storyline going into these cities are going to be very Caitlin Clark-centric. She's going to be the Cinderella of the league. Jason Whitlock will do week-long shows talking about Caitlin Clark, and we're going to have to do shows about it and all that. But there's going to be a thing. And then you go to the hotel or you're out in a public function and the team is out, And all these little girls who have no clue, if they don't really have a concept of race the way adults do, they're all going to race right past all these teammates that have been in the league for 7-8 years that may have had more accomplished careers to get her autograph. And then the crowds are going to be around her all the time. All the endorsement deals going to be with Caitlin Clark. All the appearances that you have to make for the team in the league, Caitlin Clark. The locker room politics and the derision she is going to face over time, it's going to be really interesting to see how she is treated by, number one, the opponents, but number two, I really want to see how her teammates deal with all this.
Steve, the only thing I disagree with is I think the media is going to participate in the diminishment of Caitlin Clark. That the woke thing to do, it'll be like the fade haircut deal. Don't you know that black people, black female players invented basketball? Don't you realize that? And she's just culturally appropriating, who will they say? Steph Curry's style of play. Or they'll scratch their brains and try to come up with some black woman, but they'll probably go to Steph Curry, and she's just culturally appropriating, and they'll pretend like Pete Maravich never existed. They'll pretend like James Naismith never existed, and that basketball didn't exist until Michael Jordan invented it. And so I think she's going to catch hell from the media. She's going to catch hell from the opposition. And if they don't have the right teammates in place and the right head coach in place, she's going to catch hell from her own teammates.
As far as your media take, she's a woman. And a lot of these...
Heterosexual woman.
True, but woman nonetheless.
Straight.
So you get something on the victim scale for being a woman. And she's been historically oppressed, according to the same media that's going to be ripping her. They're generally uncomfortable with ripping women the same way that they do men.
If she's a Catholic, which I think people think she is.
She is, but not outspoken Catholic. It's like she's
that's sin enough. She's a Catholic. She's a Catholic, heterosexual. She can be ripped and destroyed. She's, and I know.
She love quiet Christians. That's one of their favorite things. You be a good Christian, you go sit over there in the corner and don't talk.
I think they love lesbian Christians more.
That's true.
You know what's interesting, guys?
Here's the other thing.
No, go ahead, TJ.
Go ahead, Steve.
Go ahead.
Yeah, here's the other thing
that
I'm going to go, Steve.
I'll referee.
Yeah.
Go ahead, TJ.
Yeah, in the locker room, we saw this when we were talking about the difference earlier this year between LSU's locker room, where they were playing gangster rap, and then the High School Musical sing-along they had going in the Iowa locker room. I don't think there's going to be a lot of High School Musicals, so it is hard to bond. There's going to be a cultural difference in what she's been used to in her little bubble in Iowa compared to what she's going to have in the WNBA.
Steve, before you go, there have been some, I believe, black WNBA players talk about the discrimination they felt for not going along with the LGBTQ stuff. Talk about like the sexual gymnastics inside the locker room and the pressure. And so doesn't Brittany Griner play in Phoenix? And if Brittany Griner decides she wants a taste of Caitlin Clark, there's going to be hell to pay if it's not given up. I mean, this is, if you listen to the handful of heterosexual women in the WNBA, it's like walking into prison. And somebody's going to try to make you grab a belt loop. Brittany Griner, one of these others that have been celebrated as a hero. And none of this, the only place you'll be able to hear this discussed is on this show. It'll all be ignored. The sexual dynamics, the sexual oppression and discrimination that she'll go through will all be ignored. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, and for the record, I just want to make it clear. To me, just growing up as a child of the 80s, and given I'm a Southern California, Cheryl Miller will always be the greatest female basketball player. But I do see Jason's point that given the time and place, Caitlin Clark can be as important as anyone that played this game in that genre. Here's what I think is going to happen. Watch these stories. I'm going to predict this right now. The way they can now monitor jersey sales and paraphernalia, like they always have stats on who is the highest selling jersey, right? whatever number Caitlin Clark wears, whether it's going to be 44, 23, or numbers 00, when that jersey is the best-selling jersey her rookie year by far, there will be stories about why is the white woman being supported after all these years of the WNBA, and two things are going to happen here. White America, because the inference will be only white Americans are buying Caitlin Clark's jersey. Well, number one will be questioned, why are you supporting her? And number two, why aren't you buying these other jerseys? So there's going to be this guilt trip that's going to be like, number one, I feel bad for Caitlin because the more successful she is, she's going to be under some intense scrutiny that's going to be very different than any other athlete. But also the followers and supporters of Caitlin Clark, they will they will be branded as racist for supporting Caitlin Clark, because here's the one thing I do like about her. She's very normal and plain. I don't know much about her politics. She seems like a very good teammate, certainly a great performer, and she actually acts like a lady. And I know it's going to turn people off, but I actually like the fact she's not all tatted up, and she looks and acts feminine. That alone is going to make her a target in what is now the WNBA in the sports world in 2024 and beyond.
Your daughter, TJ, possibility she'll want a Caitlin Clark jersey. Mm-hmm. You may get her one, and people will say, how come you didn't get her a Brittany Griner jersey?
Yeah.
How come you didn't get her?
I don't want her to grow up to be a 6'8" lesbian.
Or how about Angel Reese then? Hey, TJ, would you get her an Angel Reese jersey? How about one of those?
No, I want her. I want her to get good enough grades to be able to stay on her own team the year after she wins a national championship. That'd be good.
Ooh.
I am.
Wow.
I gotta admit this. And I'll probably get trashed for this. I'm very capable of buying a Caitlin Clark jersey.
I'm so upset I didn't think about getting that for you for Christmas. That would have been such a good gift.
I am capable. I won't wear it, but would I put it up alongside my Reggie Miller jersey?
Really?
Yes, I would. Like what you saw? Hit that like button, subscribe, and check out the full episode by clicking the link below.